every golfer on the planet wants to hit their driver straighter. So in today's video, I'm going to give you some simple tips that you can implement straight away that are going to allow you to hit the driver the straightest you've ever hit it. So when trying to hit your drives as straight as possible, the very first thing you have to do is hit the middle of the face. I know it sounds basic, but trust me, it is crucial. Now, when golfers start to miss the middle of the face, we'll see them quite often go towards the heel of the club or the toe of the club. Now, when we do this, we'll actually see the ball start to curve in certain directions. So the more we go towards the toe of the club, we're going to see it sort of nosedive a little bit right to left, a bit more of a hooky shape with less spin. And when we see it go a little bit more towards the heel, it's going to be a bit more of a sliceier shape, a little bit more left to right for a right-handed golfer with a little bit more spin. So you can see not only is it changing sort of the ball flight in terms of curvature, it's also changing spin, which is not going to be helpful when we're trying to optimize out distance as well as our accuracy. Now, one of the most overlooked factors when it comes to strike is actually distance away from the ball, and more specifically how your arms hang. So I want to give you a checkpoint that you can use literally right now to just go check your distance away from the ball, make sure your arms are hanging in the correct position. So if I bring in the downline view, what is this checkpoint? Well, I want you at address to draw a line straight down from the center of your shoulder joint. Now, when you draw that line straight down, it should touch the butt end of the grip. Now, if you're that golfer who's potentially towing it and you sort of look at your setup position, you might look something like this. So if I draw that line straight down, you can see how it's a long way inside the butt end of the grip. And if I'm the golfer, or if you're the golfer who is hitting it at the heel, you might draw that line straight down and see that it's the butt end of the grip as well inside of that line. So again, as you then return it back down to impact, you're going to be more towards the heel. If you're reaching for it too much, you're going to be a little bit more towards the toe. So it's really important as you set up from the downline view that you feel like the center of the shoulder joint is just touching the butt end of the grip. That's going to get your arms nice and relaxed, but a good distance away from the ball, to where as you come back down into impact, you are going to promote more of a middle contact. Super simple checkpoint you can use there for the driver to make sure you're the right distance away from the ball and to make sure that your arms are hanging correctly. The second key to straighter drives is that you must control your club face. Now, club face determines where the ball starts. So with a driver, about 85% of where the ball starts is because of where the club face is pointing. Now, the other reason why it's so important is if your club face gets into some really awkward positions, maybe too open, too closed, the body is going to react to try and square that face up because it knows that that is going to determine roughly where the ball starts. So it's vital that we control the club face. Now, the number one biggest influence over where our club face is pointing is the grip. And I see that there are so many conversations about the lead hand grip, so we're not going to talk about that today. Instead, we're going to talk about the trail hand. Now, I see so many golfers either get it way too wrapped under into this sort of position, and I get why. It feels a very strong and powerful position, but actually it sort of has a negative effect on our swing. It tenses up the grip pressure, and it makes controlling club face very difficult. So when the hand gets wrapped under too much, it's going to promote more of a closed club face if you release it out. So the body's going to early extend and sort of hold it to try and keep that club face square. And the opposite one is where you sort of wrap it over way too much into this position. This is going to promote more of an open club face, as you can see right there. So what it ends up doing is our body sort of stop rotating. They throw the club head out to try and square it. Now, how can we get the trail hand in the right position? Well, let's run through a couple of keys and a really simple drill that you can use. So key number one is, where do we position the club in our hands? Well, a lot of people think it's in the base of the fingers. Now, that's not entirely true for the right hand. It is for the lead hand, not for the right hand. Instead, if you go from the base of the fingers and then you go up one knuckle joint and you take your middle finger and ring finger, that knuckle joint right there wants to go on the bottom part of the grip, on the south pole of the grip. And you can see when I do that, how I've really got this held in the fingers right there. Now from there, the other 2 points become a lot easier. So point number two is that you want to cover your left thumb with your right palm. So as I look down, I do not want to be able to see that left thumb right there because my right palm has completely covered it. And key number three is that once we've done that, we want to make sure that the thumb and index finger have a little bit of just pressure together, just a little bit. We don't want to see them too separate. I see a lot of golfers look like this at a dress where there's quite a bit of space between the thumb and the index finger. Really simple drill that's also going to tell you if you've got a good hold on the club is just to grab a tee and just gently place it in between the thumb and the index finger. Now if I take this grip and I'm in a poor position where the hand's wrapped under too much, you can see how that tee is pointing a long way off to the right. If I'm in a position to where the hand is too far wrapped over, you can see that tee is pointing up to the left. Now as I do it and I get it into a good position, the tee is pointing pretty much straight up and slightly to the right. So if there's sort of a clock face here, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's kind of pointing to 1 o'clock, somewhere like that. That's going to be sort of a good guide for us to be in. And you can see there, all 3 checkpoints have been complete. I'm holding it in the fingers. My palm is covering my left thumb, and my thumb and index finger are gently pinched together. That's going to increase your chances of actually getting that club face back to a square position, again helping us with our outcome, which is going to be to hit the driver as straight as possible. Key number 3 is that we need to be able to control club path. Now, club path is crucial because it is going to allow us to sort of determine where the curve is going to be. And we're always looking for club path relative to club face position. So if we see the path go excessively left of where the face is pointing, we are going to see more of a left to right shape, a little bit more of a fade or slice shape. And if we see the path go excessively to the right of where the face is pointing, this is all for a right-handed golfer, by the way, we're going to see the ball sort of hook back to the left. Now, 2 keys that we're going to look at in this, and they're sort of going to go together, is spine tilt and shoulder alignments. Let's start with spine tilt. So firstly, at address, what are we looking to see? We want to see that at address with a driver, or any club really, we have a subtle amount of spine tilt. I roughly like players to aim for about 6 degrees. So 6 degrees is the equivalent to the 1-minute hand on a clock. Reason why we have a little bit of spine tilt is very simply our trail hand is lower on the club than our lead hand. This pulls us into this little bit of a spine tilt position. Now, where do I see players go wrong? Well, I see players get into a position to where their spine is leaning towards the target. As a result, this can often cause a reverse pivot to where, again, it's still leaning towards the target, and then they'll hit very much down and left on the golf ball, producing more of that slicey shape. Conversely, they take that concept of having some spine tilt and they way overdo it, and they get into a position to where now they're tilted massively away from the target, they swing into out, and from there they hit big old hooks. So first of all, let's give you a drill to help you get this spine tilt in the correct position. So then we're in the perfect place to then where we can just maintain it, and then we can add a little bit on the way down. So what I want you to do is to grab your driver, place it right in the middle of your chest, and then from there hold it roughly where your belt buckle is, so right in the middle of your pelvis. Now, you can see this has created a bit of a tail. Now, if that tail points in the middle of the stance or back, we know we don't have enough spine tilt. So instead, I want you to bump your hips slightly closer towards the target, drop your right shoulder to where this tail is roughly pointing halfway in between the middle of your stance and your heel, your lead heel. So you can see it's just pointing just forwards of middle of stance. Now, if it goes too excessive, again, that's going to be more of that hook shape to where the ball is going to go excessively right to left. So just get this pointing just forwards the middle. That's going to set you in a good position to where your spine is tilted slightly away from the target. Now, shoulder alignment very much follows spine tilt. So the more we see golfers get into a position where they're leaning towards the target, the more likely their shoulders are going to be going left. The more we see them tilt away, the more likely their shoulders are going to be going to the right. Now, shoulders affect path far more than feet alignment. So I see so many golfers, they get so obsessed over their feet, but in reality, feet alignment doesn't play anywhere near as much control or influence over the path as the shoulders do. So it's really important we understand where our shoulders are pointing relative to the target. So again, as we're getting into these good alignments, we want to make sure that the shoulders are relatively square for a standard shot. Now, if you're somebody who hits more of a hook shot, so a little bit more of a right to left shot, that's a little bit too excessive, you can actually get your shoulders, as you've got this good tilt, just a little bit more open, so pointing a little bit more to the left of target. This is going to help you stop going so much under and into out, and actually just get this club working a little bit more back down on plane back in front of you, and then feel like it goes a little bit more to the left. And again, I don't want you aiming way off to the left, it's just a slight adjustment with the shoulders. That's going to help you pull that path back into a good position. Conversely, if you're the opposite, if you're a slicer and you see your path gets very excessively out to in, by just taking your shoulder alignment, your tilt, and just by closing your shoulders off, so actually feel like they're pointing to the right of target, you're going to be able to swing a little bit deeper on the way back, have the club work from a little bit more of the inside, and be able to have that in to out path. So let me demonstrate this for you right here. I'm just going to go for a very neutral setup, and then from there I should be able to hit this nice and straight. So I'm focusing on just a little bit of spine tilt, shoulders relatively square, so pretty much pointing at or just left of target, and then from there I'm just going to feel like I can just maintain everything and swing all the way through. So there you have it. Those are some simple tips that are going to allow you to hit your driver straighter. Now, if you need a little bit more one-to-one help, I offer online coaching on the Skillist platform. See the link down below in the description. If you have enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back here soon.